All right, Jamie, I think we're live. So hopefully we've got some folks joining us for our Budgets Made Easy webinar today.
We do. We have Kirsten and Ashley. Welcome, guys. Or ladies, I should say.
Guys is the general South. Along with y'all, we're gender friendly to everybody.
Welcome, Caitlin and Christine. As you guys are joining us, we have, be on the lookout for your chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. If you guys have any questions during the presentation, feel free to put them in the chat box. We'll either interrupt Susan in her presentation if it's appropriate, or we'll save them till the end. In the meantime, tell us where you guys are from.
We do want to make sure the chat's working, so if someone would share with us, that would be great.
Welcome, Candy and Lori, Amanda and Jessica, Sarah. You guys are all right on time.
Tennessee, yay, Amanda, thank you. We like it when our technology works.
That we do. I'm gonna post a link for everyone to the workbook that we sent out in an email that you can, if you didn't take the time to download it, you can do so now and have that handy for notes during Susan's presentation. Caitlin, we do not hear you. The audio is actually turned off for attendees, but the chat box, you can type in anything that you wish to say to us, and I'll make sure that I help communicate that to Susan during the presentation.
We're very happy to have you guys join us. We'll be getting started in about 3 minutes, so go ahead and settle in. As Jamie said, if you don't have the workbook, you can, little handout, you can download that now so you have some place to take notes.
Sarah, I posted the link in the chat box. You should see it there towards the bottom and the second comment there. It was also sent out an email if any of you have that available that had the login instructions for the webinar.
So we'll get started shortly. Jamie will be monitoring the chat box during the presentation. So if you have any problems or questions as I'm presenting, Jamie will take care of you. And like she said, if she needs to, she will interrupt me because we don't want to go on if there's a question someone has that we want to clear up right away. Otherwise, we will do questions at the end of the webinar. And I'm just excited to have so many people interested in budgeting. So we just have about a minute. We appreciate you guys being early and on time for the session today. We'll be getting started very soon. If anyone just recently joined, I'm Susan, and I'm excited to have so many of you interested in budgeting and that I can share some tips on how to make it easy for you today. Jamie is also on, and Jamie's going to be monitoring the chat box throughout the webinar session, and she's there to help you technically because she's much better at that than I am. That's one of my weak areas. So see, Sarah, we all have strengths and weaknesses. So Jamie will help you out during the presentation. If you have any technical issues or if you have a question that you want clarified, she'll make sure I can answer that before we get too far in. But we will have questions at the end, so definitely you can use your handout to write them down. And we always go by Apple time, so I'll go ahead and we'll get started. So again, thank you guys for being here for Budgets Made Easy. And one of the reasons that I get so excited about budgets is I really believe it's the number one financial management tool for your business, because as this quote says, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And I think sometimes that's how we operate our businesses. So I like to think about the budget serving as your GPS or roadmap so that you know where you're headed. And if you need to take a detour, you're knowledgeable about it and you have confidence that you're still going to reach your destination. So to me, a budget allows you to be proactive versus reactive in managing your business. So today I want to make sure that you're here and productive with your time. So if you've had a good year but didn't feel like you could really predict your own salary, then I'm happy that you're here, and a budget will help you do that. I'm also confident that a budget will help you if you've experienced revenues that increased, but your profit stayed the same or maybe even decreased. Then I'm glad you're here to learn about budgets. Or maybe you feel like the important business decisions that you're making are being made on the fly on your gut versus real data. A budget's going to help you with all these things. It's really the answer to providing clarity. And just to give you a little bit of information about me and why I get so excited and like to talk about budgets is because with Crystal Canine, our tagline is keeping pet care the best career in the world. And I know for a lot of business owners, financial stress kind of keeps it from being as good a career as it could be. And so my goal is to really help you guys as business owners love your business. And I really think that fall should become budget season. We think about, jacket weather and football, pumpkins, a lot of things in the fall, but I also want us to think about fall being budget season. And my background, my educational background is in accounting. I have a master's of accounting many years ago, but that kind of prepared me for the financial side of the business. And then I actually owned and managed a multi-service pet business for over 12 years. So I am aligning my educational background with my pet care experience and wanting to share with you the value of using a budget. And one thing I'm excited about is that there's other people that support the importance of budgeting. And I love this quote by Mindy Cray. She said that budgets are what separate the financially successful from the financially mediocre. And I don't know about you, but I want my business to be financially successful and not just mediocre. So hopefully, I think if you're here, you feel the same way. I'd like to encourage you to stick around to the end. Our webinar will go for an hour. And for those that do, there will be, a special offer and bonus that's available to you for hanging in to the very end of the webinar. So why do you want to budget now? And the main reason I think to budget now is to eliminate that ambiguity. The lack of budgeting really creates ambiguity in your entire financial picture, not only in your business, but also your personal life. And the unknown is uncomfortable. And so the budget, as we said earlier, provides that roadmap or GPS and eliminates the unknown, and it will give you a lot of confidence and comfort in your financial status. So my goal with my background was to create a simple budgeting process that business owners could use year after year. So you may be doing some of these steps or none of them. It really doesn't matter. But today I'm going to share with you what I've come up with is 6 steps in the budget process that will give you a realistic month-by-month operating budget. So we're going to start with how to prepare. And that's the 3 Ds. And so there will be preparation that helps you prepare the documents, data, and decisions that you'll need before you actually begin creating your budget. The second step is you're going to learn shortcuts and how to save time estimating your revenue so that you have a realistic revenue goal based on the history of your business. The next step, you're going to plan your expenses, and we're all about these shortcuts and time-saving tips. So we're going to focus on our biggest 3 items, which is payroll, facility cost, and marketing. And then we're going to pause, and in this step, ask some key questions that's going to give you a insight on what you need to do, whether your budget is really final yet or not. I think one of the best things in this process is it also will give you a cash flow plan in just a very easy couple of steps, which I think maybe the cash flow plan may be just as valuable as the budget that you'll get out of this process. And last but not least, I want you to keep your budget a valuable tool all year long, not just right now as you're doing planning. And so our last step is we're going to go into detail about how your budget can be a tool for you all year long. So your budget truly is a game changer. And this is a lesson I learned the hard way when I operated Urban Tales, my pet business. So I know there's not enough time in the day, week, or even month to get everything done that's on your to-do list as a business owner. And I have to admit that for several years, I let that prevent me from creating and operating with a budget. But it was finally when I grew tired of reacting to the changes in my business that the ambiguity and financial stress stopped, because I realized that it was time for me to put a budget in place, because it was really silly for me to operate in the unknown. As I mentioned earlier, I had the background and training in accounting, and so there was no reason that I should find myself in financial stress. I knew what to do, but let the daily fires and demands pull me away from my financial responsibilities. So in 2007, I prioritized creating a budget for Urban Tales, and I was honestly embarrassed by how little of my time it really did take. But what was really important to me was the change and the positive financial results I got in 2 years operating with a budget. I had 50% improvement in my net profits, and they continued to grow every year. So that was great, and I was happy, but really the mental relief I found having a plan and being proactive in managing my business finances was the best reward overall, which really made me kind of this evangelist that I've become for putting a budget in place for your business. I strongly believe that your budget is your number one financial tool. And what's great about a budget is it's not only your business that benefits when you operate with a budget, but so do you personally, because as business owners, we can't plan our own lives without knowing what our pay is. And when our pay is tied into our businesses, it just becomes the circle. So when you focus on creating a budget for your business, you're going to be able to be proactive, make adjustment to plans so you still meet your financial goals and can pay yourself the salary you deserve. And you'll be able to really, I think, grow and stretch your business by strategic planning. I'm excited that I can help you with a budget, make more money in your business. I think it's a great peace of mind as a small business owner when you have the financial plan in place of how your business is going to operate. So this is something that is really rewarding to me. I get excited every year when it's budget season and we get to do this webinar. So I've taken my financial background, my personal experience operating a pet business, and my skills as a teacher to make a positive difference and help you make more money. So you may be thinking, well, this was easy for you, Susan, because you had the financial background. And even if you dislike numbers, I want you to know that the process we're going to go through today is going to be easy for you to follow. It's going to be kind of like painting this elephant. We're just going to take it step by step, follow along with your workbook, and just take it one step at a time. So with a system, you're going to find that this is easy, and we're going to guide you along the way. And I have found that everybody is really able to do this. One thing that's important is to have that confident mindset. And so the other thing is just stay positive through the process. And I just want to give you some tips that when you actually get to work in putting your budget together, I want you to love your work environment. And that means you probably shouldn't work on your budget at your business if you have a brick and mortar location, because I remember how easy it was to get distracted and interrupted when I was trying to do work at my business. So go to your favorite coffee shop or go to your home office and create an environment that you really enjoy as you do this process. And then the other thing is I would divide it into multiple sessions. We're talking about 6 steps, so you may divide it into 6 sessions and then reward yourself for following through and accomplishing each step. I'm a big believer in celebrating and rewarding myself, especially when I do things that aren't my favorite things to do. So in your workbook, question number 5 talks about how you're going to reward yourself. I want you to think about that. And before we end this webinar session today, I want you to be sure you fill in how you're going to reward yourself as you go through this budget process. All right, so we're going to get back now and really dive into each of the 6 steps that we talked about. We're going to go through each one by one. So our first step is preparation of documents. So this is going to be pulling history and data from your business. If you happen to just be starting out and creating a business plan forecast, I can talk about that a little bit more at the end, where you can get some information to help you. But again, in this preparation, you don't have to do this on your own. If you have a bookkeeper or a manager or someone in your business that helps you with the finances, ask them to help during this preparation step. So the documents that you want to pull together is your monthly profit and loss statements over the last 12 months. So if we're working on our budget in November, the monthly profit and loss statements that you'll be pulling would be your November 2015, December 2015, all the way through October 2016, because you want 12 months of information to prepare your budget, because we know that if you do lodging, November's a really big month. So we want to make sure we have good recent history on how November goes in our business. And you may have these in QuickBooks. And if you do, just make sure that you've got detailed revenue by each service you offer. If your QuickBooks doesn't have that, then you may need to pull monthly reports on revenue from your POS system. So you do need to the revenue that you get for each service you offer over the last 12 months. So that's your first D, preparing for documents. The second D is we're going to pull some data for our key services. So again, think about who you can get to help you in this step, because some of the steps we're going to talk about only you can do. So this is a good one to delegate. So some of the data that I want you to pull together would be the units that you service by month for your key services. And when I talk about key services, I'm talking about your main sources of revenue. And so if that's doggy daycare, how many daycare dog visits did you have each month? If it's lodging, how many pet nights did you have each month? If it's training, how many students did you have in classes? How many private sessions? Having units is a great way to help you forecast your services for the next year. The other data that I want you to have is occupancy rates. So at what level of occupancy is your daycare operating, your lodging month by month? Another
Susan,
great, yes.
we had a question from Sarah about what you meant by units by month.
Okay, that would be, depending on what service you offered, it may be the number of daycare dog visits for the month. If lodging, it would be the number of pet nights. So if you had 15 dogs staying tonight, and it would be 15 tonight, and then however many each night. It's really, we need to think about our business sometimes in units. So hopefully that clarified it.
Thank you, Susan.
Yep, and we're going to then use that information to calculate the effective average rate you earn for each service you provide, at least the key services. Because I know in our pet service world, we have our published rates, but then we frequently offer multi-pet discounts for the second dog or the third dog, or we offer daycare packages that save the more you buy in advance. And so we don't necessarily earn that published rate for every pet that comes in the door. So if you take your revenue for the month divided by the number of pets you serviced, it will tell you what your effective average rate earned is. The other thing that's data that's important to creating your budget is to know if your rent's going to go up next year, or if you have a variable loan, is the interest rate going to change? If you're paying property taxes, is there a change in your appraised value of your property? So collect all this information on things that may be different. And this data is going to be important and make it easier and also provide a more accurate budget. So the third D is the one that you as a business owner has to do. You're the one that is going to make decisions for your business. And that's why I like to delegate or outsource the other two if you can and get help with them. So the type of decisions that you as a business owner need to be thinking about is the future plans. What do you want to do with your business over the next year? Are you going to be adding any new services? Will you be increasing any of your rates? Will you change any of your staffing levels? Maybe add a supervisor? Are you going to give existing staff wage increases? Are there any things or services that you buy that you can go out and get bids on and reduce the cost? I think the other thing we may not think about highlighting is, did you have any unusual events happen this year that would have impacted your financials, either positive or negatively? And do you foresee anything happening in the future? And so these are some of the things we're going to talk about as we get into the additional steps. But these are the kind of decisions that you as a business owner need to make. And the budget process is a great time to kind of put some of this in writing and to really think about and make these decisions.
Susan.
Yes.
Yeah, another question. Can you explain the difference between occupancy rate and the units per month? They sounded like the same thing to Jessica.
Okay. All right. Sure. I'm happy to do that. The units per month would be actually thinking about the number of pet noses or visits. And occupancy is generally portrayed in a percentage and will indicate if you have capacity to grow. So an example would be if you can have capacity to lodge 25 dogs a night, 25 times 30, I'm going to do this math that I can't do easily in my head, would be your total capacity for the month. You would look at then how many pets actually boarded with you and divide the actual by the capacity to get your occupancy percentage. So an occupancy percentage, if you're running 80, 90%, would tell you that you're close to capacity and can't grow much, versus a 40 or 50% occupancy would tell you you've got capacity and you may need to be focused on advertising and marketing to close that gap. So hopefully that helps everybody. And now we'll jump into how we can shortcut the planning of our revenue. The first step I want you to take in planning your revenue is to focus on your key services. And the ones for your business would be, you would have to decide that. I would look at the revenue or the services that provide you the most revenue. And it may be one or two services or three. I would say whatever kind of combined is 80% of your revenue, those would be your key services. And then we talked about these kind of anomalies or unusual happenings. Think about over the last 12 months, was there anything unusual that happened that you don't think will repeat next year, and make a note of it? And for me, this happened when some of the hurricanes came through. We had 1 year when Katrina came through in September, we had a much higher boarding than we normally did because we had many people from New Orleans coming over and staying with us because they evacuated. A few years later, we had Hurricane Rita come in, and then people in the Houston area that had plans canceled their boarding, and so then we had very little boarding. So for when I was looking at those circumstances the next year to budget, I had to make an adjustment because I knew September was an anomaly. You may also know that something's going to change in your market that would make an opportunity for your business. Maybe there's a special event coming to town that you can take advantage of, or maybe there's a new apartment complex being built very near your business that will boost your volumes. So identifying these things will help you get a more accurate picture. And what you're going to do then is project your volume for each month, and that will help you create a budget. And so we're going to actually do an example to kind of help you see what this looks like. And so that you can see it on the screen, I've only put 3 months up here, but what you would do is actually have all 12. And I think this will help you see how we use some of the data elements you've collected in planning for our revenue. So we're first going to start with our daycare capacity, and you can see that in January and February, it's 35 dogs, but in March, it's going up to 50. So this is a decision we've made for our business. We're either adding another staff person that can handle 15 dogs, or maybe we're building out more space so that we can increase our daycare capacity. Then we brought in our occupancy rate, and you can see it started at 70%, dropped in February to 65, and then March went to 75%. So to determine how many dogs per day we'll have in our daycare, we multiply our capacity each month by our occupancy rate. And then the next step is looking at how many days in the month are we offering daycare. And in this example, we only offer daycare on business days, not on the weekends. So a step is to go into each month and determine how many weekdays there are that we'll be offering daycare services. So you can see the bottom line is we now have a calculation of the total number of daycare dogs that will be coming to us. On the next slide, we've taken that number of daycare dogs, and you can see that we rounded up to 525 for the half. Then we're going to multiply that by that average rate we earned. And you can see another business decision that we've made in February is our average rate is going up. And that means we've either reduced the amount of discounts that we were offering, or we've actually planned a rate increase that's going to go into effect. So we multiply the number of dogs that come to our business by that average rate, and now we have a forecasted revenue for daycare. And I wanted to show you the difference that making some of these decisions can have on your business. If you look in January, we're servicing 525 dogs at $20 and making 10,000. In February, we dropped to 455 dogs. So we're taking care of fewer dogs, but we raised our rate and we're actually making more money. So sometimes if you do less work, you can make more money if you're priced right. And then in March, you can see by increasing our capacity and also operating at a higher rate, we almost double our revenue. So these are the types of scenarios you can run in the budget process before you actually try it, which is one of the reasons I really like budgeting. Now, for your key services, I would go through and do that exercise of looking at units and forecasting for next year along with your rate. You're probably going to have other services that you need to budget, and there's a couple of different ways you can do that. You can just estimate how much it would be. And I would do this with our pool parties. They weren't a big part of our business, but we would do some every year. And so I would look at my prior year and just kind of average out an estimate of what I thought that might bring in every year. And I wouldn't spend much time on it. That's what was important, is I spent most of my time on my key services. Another thing you can do is do a percentage increase. So maybe your retail service, you might just say, I want to increase that by 5% next year. And so I would just look at what I did for every month in retail the prior year and increase it by 5%. And that would be my forecast and budget for retail. You might do a flat monthly rate, if that makes sense for your service. And some things it might make sense to say that I'm going to calculate it as a percentage of a related service. So if you do a lot of lodging departure baths, you may want to budget your lodging services first and then just say, well, you know, my departure baths end up being about 10% of lodging. And so I'm just going to budget baths at 10% of my new lodging revenue. So those are some options that you have and shortcuts in helping you forecast revenue that may not be from your key services. Our next step in our budget is now to start working on the expense side. And so payroll and facility costs are usually the biggest expenses for a brick and mortar service company. So those are the ones we're going to start with. And we'll be doing detailed planning of those, and also with marketing and advertising, because I think that is a very important expense to spend some time with. We're going to kind of follow the same process as with revenue. First, we're going to step back and look at the prior 12 months, look at those documents, the reports that you generated, and see if there's any anomaly that you don't think will repeat. Maybe you had big snowstorms that was, you know, not expected, very unusual, so your snow removal cost was really high this year and you don't think that should repeat next year. I would highlight that, so I might not budget as much. Again, looking at those future market conditions, anything going to change that will impact your expenses. Maybe you've got minimum wage increase steps coming into play. I know that's happening in a lot of markets. If you decided in the revenue planning that you're going to offer some new services, you're going to have to make sure we budget and plan for the expenses. If it takes more staff, we're going to have to be adding staff. And for these big three expenses, we definitely want to go through and budget them month by month so that you have an accurate plan. Payroll, I like to recommend that you really set a payroll budget. So look at what you've done in the previous year and determine what you want your average wage increase to be for your staff. 4 to 5% is usually very generous increases, and determine that that's going to be my overall budget for the year if you would make no changes to the staff otherwise, unless you are dealing with minimum wage and it may have to be higher than that. Think about if you're going to change any of the benefits that you offer your staff. And then again, we've got to consider any additions if new services required, or if you're going to grow and increase your occupancy, how many new staff will you have to have? Are you going to be adding any new positions? And then I think sometimes we don't focus enough on, can we gain efficiencies and work more productively with the staff we have? And if you can, that's great. It's good savings on the expense side. So I would think about that as you're planning your payroll. So here's an example of what your payroll plan may look like if you have history from the prior year. And I like to split out the different types of pay. I like to have my hourly wages separate from the commissions that I may be paying to groomers or trainers. And then I definitely want to split out my management salaries, because those usually cannot vary with volume, whereas my hourly wages I can adjust sometimes based on how many pets are in my business. And that would give me a total staff payroll. And then one thing that I think is really important is to plan for your own pay. If you haven't done that before, we need to put that in the budget and not pay ourselves what's left over. Let's plan your own base at the wage that will make you happy and take care of your personal household expenses. And then create a bonus plan for yourself and maybe pay that quarterly based on how well your business does against budget. And then that would be the bonus part where you could maybe reduce your pay. But I want to make sure as owners that we are paying ourselves first. And so at the end of this, you will have what your total payroll is budgeted. The next of the big three expenses is the facility. So again, we're going to go and look and see, what is our rent? Is it going to stay the same, or does our lease have an increase, and plan that in for the month it happens. If you're paying a mortgage, then only the interest part of your payment will be in your budget for the P&L. The principal part we're going to put in our cash flow plan. So you're going to want to know each piece of that and what that is every month. Again, think about your property taxes. Are they going to go up because of assessed values are going up? What are you paying for insurance? Do you need any repairs or maintenance, or do you want to do improvements? And then what are your utility costs? And I think the budget is the time to kind of look at your full wish list of repairs, maintenance, and improvements. Plan for them, put them in there. And then if you decide that you don't have the profits or cash flow to do it, you can take them out. Or you can go back and adjust your revenue plan so that you can ensure it happens. And again, that's one of the real values you get by creating the budget in advance. So put that wish list out there and then see what happens when you pull your budget numbers together. The third of the expense areas we're going to focus on is marketing and advertising. And so go ahead and put out what you know you run every month for your advertising, whether it's print, SEO, online, social media ads. Go ahead and put that out month by month. And then also consider what marketing promotions you want to focus on next year and put in dollars for that in the month that they're going to happen. And how much you spend on marketing and advertising really will vary based on what stage your business is in. If you're a brand new business, you could be spending 10% of your revenue on marketing. If you're a mature business that runs a waiting list, you may be down at 1 to 2% of your revenue spent on marketing. It's really going to vary, but look at that and decide if you're wanting to grow or not, and set your marketing budget. And one thing I loved about having a marketing budget was when I would get vendors coming to me and wanting me to try out their new marketing or advertising plan. I could tell them it wasn't in my budget, but I would consider it for next year. And it just was an easy way for them to not continue to call me and bug me about their great new advertising vehicle that would just really benefit my business. I would have my budget and stick to it. Then we always have other expenses other than payroll, facility, and marketing. And so those you definitely do want to plan them by month. And for merchant fees, if you take credit cards, what I would do is calculate what percentage that runs of your revenue, and it's probably right around 3 to 3.5%. And so now that you have a new revenue plan, you can just go in and calculate your merchant fees every month based on your new revenue. So budget that at 3%, whatever your actual is. If you're going to go to seminars or have training programs for your staff, think about what month that's going to happen, when you're going to be paying for it, and put that into your budget in the respective month. You may pay dues and subscriptions or taxes on certain months. So look and see when those things happen, and then you're going to plan for them in the month that they occur. There's some things that, some expenses that the easiest way to budget is to look at how much you paid last year and then just either put it in at the same or as a little bit of a percentage increase. And this could be like your cleaning supplies, maybe your general insurance, administrative fees, professional fees. Maybe you just plan on those increasing 2 or 3% just because things always seem to go up. And so again, it's a quick and easy calculation. This is what we did last year each month. I'm just going to increase it by 2 or 3%. Now, step 4, this is where we really start to get value. And in those first 3 steps, you've got a rough draft of your budget. But now I want you to review it. And these are the questions I want you to make sure you write down, because this is where your value comes in to spending time working on a budget. And really be honest with yourself when you answer these questions. Does that bottom line profit meet your expectations? Does the salary you're paying yourself make you happy? If you have debt, carried a note to get your business started, are you going to have the funds to make those debt payments to where you're not having financial stress? Are you going to have the money for the capital improvements that you really think are needed in your business so that you feel good about it? Go to any of those questions, you just try again. And that's why I love budgets. If you're not happy with your plan, you can just try again. So let's look at our kind of sample budget, and you'll see in this slide we've added a total column so you can actually see how this would come together for the year. We've planned out our revenue to where we'll have a little over 500,000. We've got our payroll, our rent, our marketing. We are going to do some seminars and staff training, and then we've got some other expenses that we've budgeted. And now, if we look at the bottom line, we've got an overall loss for the year of $2,000. And unless I was a very new business, if this was my result and I was looking and answering those questions, I would say no. And I would go back and think about how could I maybe increase my revenue? Could I raise a rate? Or could I reduce some of my expenses so that I was forecasting my year to have a profit? That's how your budget creation process is really kind of like playing Monopoly. You get to play the game before it's real. So you're playing with virtual money and not your real money. Whereas when you don't budget, you're actually playing with your real money, this game. And so without doing a budget, we could have lost $2,000 for the year, but now we have a chance to change our plans. And it's like play money, not our real money. And I want to share a little story about Mary Beth. She was a client of mine who had an opportunity to expand and grow her business by going into a second location. And she wanted to know if this would be a good decision for her. And so we worked together to be, conservative in estimating the new staff she would need. And she knew that she was giving too high of discounts. So one of the first things we did was reduce the level of discounts that in our pricing. And in our first draft, her annual loss with this new space was going to be $14,000 or 3%. And we talked about it. What could she change? We didn't want to give up on the plan at the first draft. So Mary Beth decided she could increase her daycare rate by 50 cents and her sleepover rate by $2. And those changes changed her loss into $11,000 of net income or 2% profit. Well, Mary Beth got excited now. So she understood the value of her budget. So she's like, what else could I do? How could I make this even better? And what she did was increase her daycare rate by another 50 cents and created a plan to expand her bath services. And so her final budget was a $22,000 net income or 5% profit. So in just doing 3 versions, she went from a $14,000 loss to a $22,000 profit in her plan. This is giving you information in advance to make good decisions for your business. And we talked about that having cash flow planning can be very helpful, because do you ever get frustrated that your financials tell you you're making a profit, but you don't feel like you've got enough cash in the bank? When you've done as much work as you have so far to get to your profit, it's really easy to convert that to a cash flow plan. And so the difference between your profit and loss and cash flow can be confusing. So what I want to kind of help you understand is that there are some cash expenditures that don't go on your profit and loss statement. We talked about earlier, if you've got notes that you're paying off or a mortgage, the principal part of those payments isn't in your profit and loss. It's on your balance sheet. Also, if you run credit card balances and don't pay them in full every month, not all of those expenses are going to already be on your P&L, but you've still got payments to pay off. If you're purchasing assets, new equipment or facility improvements, those purchases often are not in your P&L, but you are making those payments. So that's the kind of things that we include in our cash flow planning so that you can actually see the full impact on how much cash do you have. And so this is kind of what a cash flow plan would look like. We've taken our January, February, and March, and then total year, and estimated how much cash we're going to start the year with in January. So it's like $12,000. And then we're going to deduct from that the net loss for January, and also deduct out the loan principal payment. So now our cash balance goes down to $7,600. And you can see that's the amount we start with in February. We deduct that month's loss, that month's loan principal payment, and you can see we're getting really low on cash by the end of February. But thank goodness March comes along where we forecasted that we have a profit, we still make our loan principal payment, and we're also going to purchase a new asset for $2,500. And we still end the month with positive cash of $12,000. And then we look at our total for the year that we're going to forecast that we're going to actually end with a little bit bigger cash balance than what we started. And so you can see the value of taking the net profit, your note payments, and then also you can plan your asset purchase. If you'd wanted to purchase that asset in February, you would have not had enough cash to do it. Or if you'd had done it in January, you would have run out of cash in February. So by doing this cash flow plan, you know that March was a month that it was safe to actually spend the money and buy that asset. So the last step that we're going to talk about is how you actually maximize your budget's value all year long. It's great that you do it as an annual tool, but the real value comes all year as you run your business. And it really, your budget should become your monthly financial map. So what I would want you to do is compare every month your actuals to your budget, and then look for your differences, and so that you can understand why you either exceeded your budget or fell short. Was it because the units were too low, or your effective rate was lower than you forecasted? This gives you the information to understand why your business operations varied and you may be a little short of money. The other thing I want you to do is, because your budget is kind of a forecast and a plan, is wait and at least go for a quarter. And at the end of each quarter, if you have new information and you think, well, our volume is just going to be a little lower than what we forecasted, then I would go ahead and make a change to your budget to reflect that. And then you can see what you may need to do. Do you need to increase some rates? Do you need to reduce expenses if you're not getting the numbers in? Or could you increase your marketing and advertising budget to increase the number of clients and visits that you have that will make up that revenue? So make changes so that it is a helpful tool. You can make changes to your operations, your marketing plan, and even your budget. And again, get help. If you have a bookkeeper, let them help you. Say, okay, this is what we're finding after the first 3 months. What do you recommend? And I think it's important to really think about that. What you do today as far as spending time creating a budget can improve all of your tomorrows. You no longer have the unknown. You've got a roadmap and a GPS to tell you where you're headed. And so I really believe that the time you're spending here today and then actually working on your budget is time well spent. So just kind of recap, whether you attended today to make more money or get clarity about your finances or feel confident in your decisions, I hope you see that the Budgets Made Easy steps is really going to help you in all these areas. Now, you may be thinking that we're in November already, the holidays are around the corner, I know I need to do a budget, but I'm not sure how I'm going to find the time, and how long is this really going to take to do it? And it depends. You can do it yourself by following these steps and probably getting help from your bookkeeper. But there's also a quick and easy shortcut option that I want to share with you. Because I've taken these 6 steps, we've created a package that I invite you to join me in our Budgets Made Easy implementation toolkit. We have all the tools that will make this quick and easy for you to get a budget in place for 2017. And I think it's important for you as a business owner to make confident decisions and make more money. I've not met many pet business owners that I feel like are making too much money. I think everybody can make more, and the best way to do that is to operate with a budget. So the complete toolkit focuses on getting a budget implemented in your business in just 30 days, and it comes with a Budgets Made Easy workbook that actually has Excel templates that you just plug in your numbers. You also get a preparation and implementation plan checklist so that you can quickly check off the steps, and it also outlines a 30-day plan that you can follow to get your budget done. And then we also have 5 video lessons to where you can watch me actually preparing a budget for a pet business using those Excel templates that you get with the workbook. So in only 30 days, you can create your 2017 budget, and you're going to get expert guidance and support to get it done right away. So as we said, you get the Budgets Made Easy workbook. It includes a checklist and interview questions that you just answer as the business owner. We give you all the instructions and examples, and then the Excel templates to where you just plug in numbers and all the calculations are done for you. And this is a workbook you can use every year. So you just buy it once, and every year you're going to have this tool to help you do your budget in the fall. We actually are including some video recorded sessions of us creating budgets for revenue, payroll, expenses, doing a P&L review, and then inputting that cash flow. And then we also show you how to take the budget from the Excel templates and actually put it into QuickBooks. And all these are videos that you can watch and follow along and fill out your own as we do it as a sample real live budget for a pet business. Then we also created a PDF checklist so that you can plan your schedule. It helps you go through the 3 Ds, the key decisions you need to make, all the steps in creating your budget. And then we actually outline 3 different 30-day timeline options that you can follow and get your budget in place. You know, one of them is pretty much done in November. One of them, we all skip Thanksgiving because we know that's really busy. So you do some prep work before the holiday, finish it up in early December. And then one of the options is just to do your budget in January. And then as a bonus, you get membership in our private Facebook group. And we're also going to send you accountability emails while you're creating your budget, and then also while you're making it a valuable tool for yourself in 2017. You will get emails from us just reinforcing what you can be doing and how your budget will benefit you. In our Facebook group, I'm on there every day. You can ask questions and I will give you answers based on my knowledge and experience. Plus, you'll be there with other pet business owners that may have good information that they can share that will help you. So what you create from this toolkit is you get your 2017 budget done in 30 days. You'll be making informed business decisions all year long. You will get a bigger paycheck, and you'll also be able to have confidence in your personal plans and a roadmap to achieve your business goals and your personal goals. So earlier I said if you stayed to the end, you would be rewarded. And if you purchase the toolkit today, you can use the coupon code BUDGET, and it is case sensitive, so you want to do all caps budget 30 and save $30 off. So for staying to the end, this early bird bonus will save you $30 on the toolkit. And this is a seasonal offer that will end on November 10th. And so the toolkit is $229. If you buy today, save the $30. You pay less than $200 to increase your pay, I'm sure, by more than that. You can also pay in 3 installments. And again, use the budget 30 as the coupon code. And you can go to, this is the URL where you can find out all the details about the toolkit. It's crystalcanine.com, then budgets-made-easy-implementation-toolkit. I think Jamie may put that in the chat box so you can just click on it and link. And then we want you to be satisfied with all the purchases you make from Crystal Canine. We want you to be happy. So for 30 days, if you show us the work that you've done in the templates and you're not happy with the process, we'll give you a full refund. So there's really no risk here to try and buy our financial toolkit to get your budget in place, because if you show us that you made the effort and are not satisfied, we'll give you your money back. So the total value of the toolkit really does exceed $700. You get the workbook, the Excel templates, you get the video guides, you get the preparation and implementation checklist that guides you step by step through the process, and then you get the expert support in the Facebook group and the accountability. I know sometimes we have good intentions, but you buy it and you don't implement it, and I don't want you to do that. I want you to actually get your budget in place, which is why we set up the email series and the Facebook, just to remind you that you're here today, your budget's a priority, we want you to make it happen. So what happens next is if you go to that URL and click on the Purchase Now button, you will complete your cart information, and then make sure you select your payment plan option, whether you want to do the single payment or the 3 installments. And then once you do that, you will get 3 emails. The first one will be your receipt. The second one will be a confirmation of your order. And then the third one gives you your toolkit access details. So watch for 3 different emails from us once you purchase your toolkit. And so I'm excited that you're here and glad that you stayed till the end. We've got about 8 minutes before the hour's up, so we'll take questions, and I'm happy to stay on until our timer goes away if you have more questions. Again, just want to remind you that if you purchase today, the budget 30 with budget in all caps is the coupon code where you can save money. So Jamie, I'm gonna ask you to come back on and let me know if we have any questions.
Thanks, Susan. We do have a few questions. I'm going to remove the offer from the sidebar so you guys can enter in any questions that you have thought of here at the end. In the meantime, we had a question from Sarah early on. Sarah's getting ready to open her facility and asked if you had a preferred program for budgeting, such as QuickBooks.
Yeah, I think right now I do recommend QuickBooks for your financial accounting and to put your budget in. It just is the most common that's used and that it's easiest to get help, and they really have made it very user friendly. And so right now I am recommending QuickBooks.
She had another question about a preferred software to keep daily count of the units to help with data collection.
Yes, and depending on what services you're offering, you're probably going to want to have a pet service point of sale software. And, you know, there's several good ones that are out there right now. We're telling people to look at Paw Loyalty, Pet Exec, Ginger are really the best ones. And from those systems, you should be able to get the units. If you don't, you can track those in Excel. And we actually have another product in our store on KPIs. They're often referred to as key performance indicators that another person in the pet industry created that helps you with that also.
We have a question from Jessica. If you have a budget, but you find that you need to spend more time in a certain area, do you spend the money and adjust the budget for next year, or do you take money from a different area of the budget? This is where she could use some more help.
Yeah, that's a great question, Jessica. I think if you have your budget and you lay it out there and you find that it's not in place, I would go ahead and adjust it because I think it's important for it to stay a valuable tool, even if you're running under in one area but over in another. Once you realize that's probably going to continue to happen, I would make the adjustment in your budget so that going forward, you know what your plan is, and the impact on the full year. So hopefully that made sense.
We have another question from Mark. He's a pet sitter and doesn't have a facility. Is the toolkit still applicable to him?
Yes, the budget process still applies. You'll have different expense categories. So you wouldn't have rent, but you probably as a pet sitter are doing a lot of mileage, or you may even have a business vehicle. So you would just have different expenses to plug into the template, but it definitely would work.
Susan, Sue is concerned about getting the preparation work done for the busy holiday season coming up. Is this realistic time to start her budget?
Yes, it definitely is. We, in our implementation checklist, we have actually created 3 different 30-day timelines. 2 of them, all of them avoid the Thanksgiving holiday busy time because we know that, but you can still get it done. You just need to get back on it. And if you wait and do it all in the month of January, I would prefer you do that than not operating with a budget. That's okay. Just, start the month and get your budget in place before the end of January.
Sarah has another question. She's getting ready to open next year. She doesn't have data history on her business, but how does she project for the new year?
Yeah, it is more challenging when you're just starting out and creating your business plan. What you know is your capacity based on the size of your business. And so you can use some occupancy percentage assumptions. And I would start conservative, so maybe 35% occupancy and then grow it a little bit to that level for the year. We also have a product in our store, which is the financial survey of pet business owners, which gives you good data on, average rates, occupancy numbers. You just need to start lower as a new business and think about how much can you grow and grow slowly. As a new business, you might also want to do 2 versions, a very conservative worst case scenario version, and then the version, this is what I hope happens, and look at both of them and see what the bottom line numbers are and make sure you're happy. That can help motivate you to know, okay, what I need to do and is to have this many pets coming in the door. And if you're not, then you're going to have to get in and do more marketing and advertising. So I think it would really help you to do that. And again, joining the Facebook group, you can get some of that information that would help you either from me or other people who have opened their businesses and what their experiences were.
Thank you, Susan. Nancy has a question. She says that she doesn't use Excel very much. She's not as confident using Excel. Do you think that she'll be able to complete the budget using your template?
Yeah, I love the way that our person designed our templates because it's kind of just plug and play and they're locked so you can't mess up the calculations. So especially with the videos where you can watch me do it first, then you could even pause them and then fill it in and then, push play. So I think having the templates and also the videos to watch will make it easy that you can do it even if you haven't used Excel much.
Anne asked if you could clarify what's in the video lessons.
Yes, you're going to watch me actually use the budget templates that you get with the workbook to input a client's budget. And so you'll actually see a real life budget being used, and each video lesson focuses on one of the areas, one of the steps in the process. So you'll see me do the revenue worksheets and then the payroll worksheet, then the other expense worksheets. We'll look at the P&L and make changes. So you'll see what that process looks like. You'll see us do the cash flow plan and then finalize the budget.
Mike was wondering if the budget workbook is available without the entire work kit.
It sure is. It's an item in our store on the website that you can go to. The premium workbook is $134.95. We have a manual version without the Excel templates that walks you through the steps for $74.95. But you can see for just a little bit more, you get the video lessons, the accountability, the Facebook group. You get more support by buying the full toolkit. And I know we are at our hour, so we do appreciate everybody sticking with us. I don't mind staying on if there's more questions for a few more minutes, but we really appreciate you coming, and hopefully you're inspired to get a budget in place for 2017. That's our goal.
Well, if there's not any more questions, I will put the offer link back over on the side there for you guys. Just a reminder, the promo code is budget30 with all capital BUDGET.
So thanks everyone for joining us. Have a wonderful day and happy budgeting.